The stars above the planet Relinor were calm that day. Inside the great communication tower, alien engineers moved around quietly. Their job was simple: listen to signals from deep space and report anything new. For years, nothing special had arrived. Only static and small waves from dying stars. But today was different. An operator named Vel was half asleep at his station when a strange sound broke through the silence. A high-pitched beep, followed by patterns. Vel blinked and leaned forward. The signal was unlike anything he had heard before. It wasn't random. It had rhythm. It was coded. He called his supervisor. Within minutes, the room was full. "This is not natural," one of the scientists said. "It's intelligent." "Where is it coming from?" asked another. Vel turned a few dials and stared at the screen. "A blue planet, third one from a yellow star." "It's Earth." Gasps filled the room. Earth, the death world. Everyone knew about Earth. A planet full of storms, quakes, wild beasts, and dangerous life forms. A place where gravity was high, oxygen was thick, and predators ruled land, sea, and air. And worse, they say the creatures that ruled that planet were called humans. No one had dared to contact Earth directly. It was seen as too risky. But now, Earth had contacted them. The signal kept repeating every minute. It was a short message, broken into patterns of light and sound. The aliens tried to decode it using their translator AI, but something was wrong. The language came through strange. One line kept flashing on the screen. "Prepare yourselves. Fire is coming." Panic began to grow. "Is this a threat?" asked a senior council officer. "Maybe it's a mistake," another offered. "Maybe we mistranslated it?" "No," the leader said, narrowing his eyes. "No one sends fire unless they mean war." They immediately sent a message to the Galactic Council. Within hours, the galaxy's top powers gathered. News of the signal spread like wildfire. The Galactic Council chamber was tense. Screens showed the repeating Earth signal in the background as leaders discussed what to do. Some wanted to send a reply and ask for peace. Others wanted to prepare for war. Then one elder stood up. He was from the Sorin species, wise and old. "I warned you," he said quietly. "I once told you that Earth should never be left alone. They have been silent for too long. And now they speak." "But maybe we misunderstood their message," said another. "Can we take that risk?" asked the general. "If we wait and they attack first, we might lose everything." Arguments broke out. Voices rose. Some shouted for peace. Others shouted for defense. But one thing was clear. Fear had entered the room. In the end, the council agreed to send a warning back to Earth, telling them to stand down. But they also ordered all fleets to prepare in case Earth ignored the message. The council's ship, Starlight Echo, sent its reply. "We received your message. Any act of aggression will be met with full galactic defense." Back on Earth, the message arrived. At a military relay station, the humans were confused. Earth's message wasn't meant as a threat. It was part of an old test signal, meant for deep space probes. The AI had added the line, "Fire is coming," as a test phrase. It was a quote from an old Earth movie. But now it had caused panic across the stars. The humans quickly sent a clarification. "There is no danger. Our signal was peaceful." The phrase was a cultural reference, not a threat. But by the time the message reached the council, things had changed. The council's signal translators failed again. The Earth reply came out like this: "There is no peace. Your worlds will burn. We bring war." Everyone froze. The misunderstanding was now complete. A single translation glitch had turned a peaceful signal into a declaration of war. The council, scared and angry, made a final call. "Activate all defense fleets," the leader said coldly. "If Earth wants fire, we'll give them stars burning." At that same moment, Earth's satellites picked up strange movement near the outer edge of the solar system. Hundreds of unknown ships had entered human space. The stars were no longer calm. Something terrible was about to begin. Asterisk. The silence of deep space shattered as alien warships left their home systems, heading straight for the Sol sector toward Earth. On planet Viren, a military world of the Galactic Union, soldiers were marching, preparing for something they didn't understand. Officers barked orders. Ships were loaded with weapons. Civilians were told to stay indoors. No one knew exactly what was coming, but they were told the enemy was brutal. And human dot in the Galactic Council chamber. Fear ruled the air. Our systems report hundreds of Terran battle signatures. One council technician announced. That can't be, shouted a Trulk ambassador. Earth hasn't sent ships beyond their own moons for decades. Another leader stood. They are Deathworlders. We don't know what they're capable of. That message wasn't an accident. It was a warning. The Council had already sent a second message to Earth, but this time they didn't wait for a reply. They prepared for war. Back on Earth, alarms rang inside the Global Defense Network, dug in a hidden command bunker beneath the Andes Mountains. The top generals of Earth met in secret. They've moved fleets, said General Hale. We picked up hyperspace disturbances at the edge of our outer colonies. A young communication officer added, we tried again to explain the message was peaceful, but their systems must be corrupt. Our last reply came back with a new message. Prepare for judgment. The room went quiet. Did we just get threatened? Asked Admiral Wren. Looks like it, Hale said. His voice cold. Earth had always been cautious. Humanity knew it was different, stronger, faster, more adaptable. That's what it meant to be a Death World species. But Earth had promised itself to be peaceful, unless truly provoked. This was provocation. The president of Earth was called in. Do we respond with diplomacy again? Someone asked. The president simply looked out the window toward the hill. Stars. We sent peace. They heard fire. Now they're coming. We don't run. Prepare the fleet. Within hours, Earth's most powerful war machines woke from sleep. Massive orbital stations activated shields. Terran dreadnoughts drifted from shipyards like sleeping giants. Carriers, black as night, opened hangars full of drones, fighters, and boarding units. From Mars, Saturn, Europa, and the dark bases of Pluto. Human ships launched toward the edge of the system, silent and fast. On board the TNS Rothborn, Captain Mira stood on the bridge. Coordinates locked, her navigator said. Mira stared at the stars ahead. We didn't ask for this, but if it's war they want. She turned to her crew. Then let them see what Deathworlders are made of. Far away, on a Galactic Council fleet ship, alien Commander Ulrich watched holograms of the human response. He was one of the few who had studied humans before. He had read the ancient files. Earth's wars. Earth's survival against nature. Earth's violent history and brilliant minds. And now, they were rising again. This is wrong, Ulrich said quietly. Something doesn't feel right. Why would a species send a threat and then try to fix it? His second officer frowned. Maybe it's a trick. Ulrich shook his head. Or maybe it's a mistake. And we just declared war. On the worst enemy possible. But it was too late. The fleets were already moving. In the cold void between stars. The first encounter happened. One alien patrol ship spotted a human stealth drone. Instead of backing off, the aliens fired. The drone didn't explode. Instead, it sent a signal. 30 seconds later, space around the alien ship lit up with human vessels. Not hundreds, thousands. They didn't speak. They didn't warn. They simply moved forward. The alien patrol vanished from all screens. Back on Earth, people watched news channels as red banners scrolled across every display. Terran Defense Force now active. Contact lost with outer watch stations. War response initiated. But deep underground, in a room without light, a different program was waking up. Something older. Something secret. Project Iron Core. The files blinked open. Authorization. Accepted. Command. Defense Priority Omega. The screen displayed one line. If the stars declare war, Earth will burn brighter. On the Galactic Council's main world, panic had turned into confusion. Alien ambassadors shouted over each other. Some wanted to stop. Others demanded Earth's destruction. But above them, in the high orbit of their capital, a single Terran. Beacon had just appeared. No ships. Just a small probe. Played one message. This was never our intention. But we will defend what is ours. You started this. Now we'll finish it. The probe exploded. At that same moment, Earth's full fleet. Left Sol System. Quiet. Deadly. Unstoppable. Asterisk. The command center deep under Mount Atlas was filled with red lights and warning sirens. Every screen showed the same thing. Alien fleets moving closer to human space, preparing for a war they had misunderstood. General Hall stood at the center of the room. His jaw was tight, his hands behind his back. Around him, officers gave updates. But he already knew the truth. Earth was now under silent attack. They think we threatened them, said Commander Lyon from the satellite division. Our peaceful signal was twisted by their translators. And their response? Halle asked. Armed fleets in multiple systems. At least 3 are already in our outer zones. One fired on a probe. No warning. Halle turned toward the holographic table at the room's center. It showed the Sol System, glowing in blue. Outside its edges, red enemy ships were marked like blood drops creeping in. We offered peace, he said coldly. But they chose fear. In the Terran Council Hall, the President faced Earth's leaders via secure hologram. We know this started with a glitch, she said calmly. But to them, it became real. They sent warships. They fired first. Now we must make a choice. The council chamber was silent. One scientist spoke. We can try again. A better message. A clearer signal. But the president shook her head. Their fleets are already in motion. They didn't wait to ask questions. Then what is the order? A senator asked. The president looked at the screen, showing Earth's fleet nearly. 1,000 warships ready. Humanity will not start this war, she said, but we will end it. Activate Operation Eclipse. In space, Earth's war fleet came to life. The TNS Horizon, a Titan-class flagship larger than cities, opened its launch bays. Thousands of drones flew out like metal birds. Long-range destroyers aligned in perfect formations. The fleet shimmered like a silver tide. Each pilot had the same command: hold until attacked. Then retaliate with full force. On board the carrier. Valkyrie, Captain Mira received the encrypted message. Operation Eclipse confirmed, her AI assistant said. All units now under combat rules. Myra walked to the front of the bridge. Her eyes were sharp, focused. We were never looking for war, she said softly to her crew. But now, we'll show them what a Deathworlder response truly means. At the edge of the Kepler belt, the alien vanguard ships entered what they believed was neutral space. Their commanders still believed Earth was bluffing. Their sensors had not picked up the full size of Earth's defenses. They thought humanity would panic. They were wrong. As they entered the belt, they saw flashes. At first, they thought it was debris. Then a dozen Earth stealth frigates uncloaked in perfect sync. Each one targeted the nearest alien vessel and opened fire. In just 43 seconds, 6 alien ships were destroyed. No warnings, no speeches. Just precision destruction. The alien captain, still alive in one of the damaged ships, stared at his cracked monitor and whispered, "We made a mistake?" Back on the Council homeworld, the mood had changed. Emergency reports arrived, ships gone dark. Fleets lost without explanation. Sectors silent. What happened? One ambassador cried. They didn't even declare war. They did, said Ulrich, the same alien officer who once studied humanity. But we didn't listen. We just didn't understand how humans declare it. Another leader panicked. Should we ask for peace now? Ulrich replied, we had our chance. Now we have. To survive. In orbit of Neptune, a special human warship, the Abyss, waited. Inside, Admiral Graves sat in a dark room, looking over enemy fleet movements. Unlike others, he didn't fear war. He had trained for this moment his entire life. Once they touch. Saul's core line, he told his officers. We unleash Phase 2, no hesitation. One young officer gulped. Even their command planets, sir. Graves didn't blink, especially their command planets. On Earth, people watched the skies. News showed images of ships launching, of families saying goodbye to soldiers, of robotic factories working non-stop to build weapons and armor. The public didn't cheer. They didn't cry. They understood. Earth had always been pushed, always been underestimated. But now, they would show the galaxy that kindness wasn't weakness, and silence didn't mean fear. In the shadows of the stars, Earthworlders prepared to fight not for revenge, but for survival, truth, and the right to never be misunderstood. Again, asterisk, the first direct clash between Earth's fleet and the Galactic Union happened near a small, unclaimed moon named VERI-9. It started with a whisper. A single alien cruiser, patrolling a quiet zone, picked up strange distortions in space. The commander on board thought it was a system glitch. Their sensors showed no enemy ships nearby, but the distortion grew stronger. Closer. Suddenly, space tore open like fabric. Dozens of Terran stealth ships decloaked in perfect formation. They didn't fire at first. They simply hovered, blocking the path. Their dark, angular hulls reflected no light. No symbols, no flags. Just silence. The alien commander panicked and ordered a message be sent. We are not here to fight. Lower weapons. But it was too late. The human fleet had already marked the ship's systems. They knew it had fired on a Terran probe 3 days ago. They knew it had moved into Sol's outer defense line. The order from Earth had been clear. No mercy for aggressors. The first shot came from a Terran rail cannon. It split the alien cruiser in half in one breath. No explosions, no time to react, just total silence. Followed by drifting metal and fire. In every corner of the galaxy, news traveled fast. First strike has happened. Terrans have engaged. One galactic cruiser lost in seconds. No survivors. The Council panicked. Some called it murder. Others called it justice. But one voice spoke louder than the rest. It came from Earth. A public message, broadcast on every open frequency. It was the President of Earth. We warned you. We tried peace. You fired first. We respond with strength. If you continue, your stars will go dark one by one. This is not conquest. This is protection. Do not test Deathworlders again. Across the galaxy, species who once laughed at humans now watched in silence. Inside the Terran flagship Valkyrie, Captain Mara received real-time footage of the first battle. Her ship had not yet engaged, but now the gloves were off. All fleets, she ordered, move into Phase 2. Secure the outer moons of Sol. Target only armed vessels. We fight clean, but we fight hard. Her ship launched forward like a hawk. Missiles activated. Energy shields shimmered. Fighter drones shot out like sparks from a fire. The stars lit up. On one Council warship, alien General Tariq was watching. The chaos unfold. This can't be happening, he muttered. His fleet had been trained for border skirmishes. Not this kind of precision warfare. Earth's forces weren't acting like random brutes. They were coordinated, cold, and surgical. Every attack they made hit only command points. Every strike disabled weapons, not civilians. These humans, they don't waste energy, one of his lieutenants said. They don't have to, Tariq replied. They were born in hell. We were raised in gardens. Meanwhile, Earth's strategy became clear. Instead of pushing straight toward alien worlds, Terran ships moved like ghosts. They picked off weapons satellites, communication relays, and shield stations. The enemy couldn't speak to each other, couldn't see, couldn't coordinate. The war was becoming one dash-sided dot, but Earth wasn't celebrating. Inside every ship, soldiers remembered why this began. Because of a signal, because of a mistake, because no one paused to ask why dot in the skies above a neutral spaceport. A council diplomat tried one last time to contact Earth. Please, speak. To us, we can fix this. A single Terran message came back. You didn't listen when we spoke softly. Now the stars will carry our voice. The diplomat dropped the comm device. It's not war anymore, she whispered. It's punishment. In deep space, the Terran fleet pushed forward. Not to destroy, but to control. Earth's goal wasn't to burn the galaxy. It was to end the war before it truly began. They knew. If it dragged on, billions could die. So they would strike hard. Fast. Final. On Earth. People watched the stars from their rooftops. A father told his daughter, "Do you know why they fear us?" She shook her head. Because we don't fight for power, he said. We fight when someone thinks we're too kind to strike back. In the council chamber, a final report arrived. Terran forces have taken 5 key systems. Minimal losses. Total enemy silence. And below that message, one chilling file attached. Projected time to Galactic command invasion, 6 days. Asterisk. The sky above the planet Dronex 4 turned red, not from fire, but from the shadows of incoming Terran dropships. Dronex 4 was a military command world for the Galactic Union. Its defense towers stood tall. Anti-air turrets lined the mountain ridges. Thousands of trained alien soldiers waited, watching the sky through shaking hands. They had heard the reports. Earth's fleet had bypassed front lines and reached deep space. But no one expected them to land. Until now. A deep thunder shook the ground as the first wave of Terran assault carriers pierced the clouds. No warning, no signals. Only the distant hum of engines. And silence. Commander Linux of the Dronex 4 Defense Corps stood on the outer wall of Fort Zereth, staring upward. They came without declaring invasion, said his second officer. No, Linux said grimly. They declared it with every system. They took in silence. He clenched his fists. We are not cowards. Prepare to fire. But the humans were already on the ground. Inside the lead Terran dropship, Captain Naira's boots hit the soil first. Her armor, black with silver markings, looked like something pulled from legend. Her team followed closely, silent, focused, and armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Targets confirmed, said her AI assistant. Minimal civilian presence. Priority, disabled military force only. Mira nodded. We do. Not destroy what does not attack, but if they shoot first, they don't get a second chance. The aliens fired. Turrets blazed. Flashes lit up the fields, but the Terrans moved like shadows through the smoke. Fast, unshaken. One by one, the defenses fell. A tower exploded in a single strike. A bunker door melted from plasma drills. Alien soldiers, trained for years, dropped weapons when they saw human soldiers walking through gunfire. Unharmed. Commander Linux tried to rally his troops. Fight! This is our home. But even he froze when he saw what stepped through the fire. A single human walked alone, holding only a combat blade. His armor was damaged, his helmet cracked. But he kept walking. A plasma shot hit his chest. He didn't even stop. Linux dropped his weapon. In orbit. Other planets began sending panicked messages. Earth's forces are landing. We didn't even see them coming. They aren't taking cities. They're only targeting generals. That was true. The Deathworlders weren't burning cities, Doc. They were cutting off the war's head fast, clean and terrifying. Back on Earth, Admiral Graves spoke before the Terran High Command. They're calling us monsters, he said calmly. They're begging for peace, said a Senator. Graves turned to the screen showing the latest battles. They weren't begging. When they fired on our probes, or when they crossed into soul space, or when they misread our message and decided war was safer than understanding. He paused. We are Deathworlders. We didn't choose that title, but now the galaxy knows why we own it. On Drone X4, Captain Mira stood in the courtyard of the captured command base. Alien prisoners sat in a circle, hands bound but unharmed. Medical drones treated their wounded. A young alien officer, barely more than a cadet, looked up at Myra. Why didn't you kill? You? He asked quietly. Myra looked at him. Her voice was cold but honest. Because we're not here to destroy you. We're here to stop your leaders, before more mistakes lead to more graves. The cadet swallowed hard. We thought you were beasts. You? Still might be right, she replied. But beasts don't build peace after fire. Elsewhere across the galaxy, other Terran teams landed on isolated military planets. Within hours, command centers were neutralized. Communication arrays destroyed. Not one civilian was harmed. Not one marketplace touched. Alien citizens watched from behind locked windows as humans walked down the streets calm, unstoppable, and disciplined. Not like monsters, like soldiers with a purpose. The Galactic Council received a final warning from Earth. Your war is over. Your leadership must surrender. We will not invade further unless you force our hand again. That message came with proof. Recordings from every planet Earth had landed on. Not one civilian casualty. Not one burned home. Just silence. And surrender. The stars had witnessed war. But now, the galaxy understood something deeper. Humanity didn't fight for blood. They fought for truth. And when truth was ignored, Earth made sure the silence after would speak loud enough for generations. The Galactic Council had never been this quiet. For centuries, its halls echoed with arguments, debates, and prideful speeches. But now, every delegate sat frozen. Their screens showed images of Terran forces standing in silence on 10 conquered military worlds, untouched cities, surrendered generals, and 0 civilian deaths. And one final message played on a loop. You attacked first. We responded with precision. You have one chance left to choose peace. In the center seat sat Chancellor Dravik, his hands trembling. We misjudged them, he said softly. We thought they were wild beasts dressed in metal. But they are something worse, something smarter. They didn't conquer us, said the Varnan ambassador. They surgically removed our strength. A younger delegate whispered, What if they keep going? The room turned toward Ulrich, the one council member, who had once studied humanity and warned them not to provoke Earth. He stood slowly. They won't keep going unless we force them, he said. But if we delay, if we lie or stall, they won't return with soldiers. They'll return with judgment. On Earth, the Terran president walked into a war room glowing with red maps and star charts. How long before they respond? She asked. Admiral Graves replied, They're terrified. They've seen what we can do, but they still don't understand why we stopped. They expected us to burn everything. But we didn't, Graves said. And that's what scares them most. The president nodded. Good. Let fear teach them what our words couldn't. She turned to her staff. When their message comes, we'll listen. But this time, it's on our terms. Back on the council world, a vote was held. Do they surrender? Do they resist? Or do they try to negotiate again? The final vote was split just. Barely. Some wanted to fight on, but they knew that even one more wrong move would end their civilization. In a sealed chamber. The decision was made. They would surrender, but not just with words. They would send an envoy. A direct, personal surrender to humanity. In person, a sleek diplomatic vessel left the council world within the hour. Its destination, Earth. On board was Ambassador Selen, a calm, intelligent female of the Koran species, chosen for her neutral history with humans. She had once admired Terran art. Now, she was sent to ask for mercy. The trip through Sol's defense perimeter was nerve-wracking. Terran warships didn't move, but their targeting systems tracked every breath inside the ship. Selen never blinked. She simply said, "We deserve their eyes on us. We earned this fear." When she landed, she was met by a full honor guard. Not weapons, not threats, but quiet soldiers in black armor. She was taken underground to the Earth Council chamber. There, she stood before the Terran President General Hala, Admiral Graves, and Captain Mira. Selen bowed deeply. "We are responsible for the war," she said. "Our misinterpretation, our panic, our aggression." She raised her eyes. "And yet, you chose control. You didn't destroy us when you could have." "Why?" the president answered, voice steady. "Because we were born in chaos. We know what destruction feels like, so we end wars fast, to stop the suffering." Selen's voice trembled. "Then I surrender. On behalf of the Galactic Council, we will disarm. We will end all operations against Earth, and we will issue public responsibility. Number 1 in the Terran room celebrated. There was no cheering, no smiles, only silence. Captain Mira stepped forward and handed Selen a small data crystal. "Your signed agreement goes into galactic records. If broken, we won't send diplomats next time." Selen nodded slowly. "We understand now. You speak peace in action, not just words." Within days, transmissions were broadcast across the galaxy. "The war is over. The Council has surrendered to Earth." Deathworlders showed power, but chose restraint. Many worlds cheered. Some wept. Others feared what Earth would do next. But Earth made no further moves. The Terran fleet stopped. It returned home. The skies above alien worlds cleared. No more dark ships. No more storms of metal. Just quiet, and warnings written in history. On Dronix 4, children played outside again. On council worlds, statues of generals were taken down and books rewritten. And in Terran academies, young soldiers studied this war as the perfect example of how a single signal, one misunderstanding, could nearly end the stars. Asterisk. 10 years passed, but the galaxy still remembered. The war that began with a single message, the one misunderstood signal that almost destroyed everything, became known as the Signal War. No one forgot it, and no one dared to repeat the same mistake. Across hundreds of alien worlds, schools taught a new history. Old maps were removed. Statues of false heroes were taken down. In their place stood new plaques, words carved in metal. When Earth spoke peace, we heard fire. When Earth answered fire, they showed control. From them, we learned. On the council world of Verdun, where the surrender had first been signed, the once grand war hall was now a peace museum. In its center stood a real Terran helmet. Burnt on one side, marked with scars from battle. It had belonged to Captain Mira. She had left it behind before returning to Earth. Beside the helmet, a message was displayed in over 200 languages. "We never wanted war, but we refuse to kneel to fear. Let this be the last war born from silence. On Earth, things had changed too. The Terran Defense Fleet was no longer hidden. It was now a symbol, not of threat, but of balance. Terran ambassadors were welcomed in places they were once feared. Some still whispered the word, Deathworlders, with fear, but most now said it with respect, because Earth didn't just win a war. They stopped it from growing. Admiral Graves had retired. He lived in a quiet forest cabin, away from the stars. When asked why he never visited the Council worlds again, he replied simply, "We showed them who we are. If they forgot, I'd rather not have to remind them." Captain Mira, now a fleet instructor, trained new soldiers, not just humans, but aliens too. A young alien cadet once asked her during a training session, "How did you stay so calm during the landings? Didn't you hate us?" Mira looked the cadet in the eye and said, "No, I feared what hate would turn us into. That's why we ended it fast, not for victory, but so we didn't become what you thought we were." The cadet never forgot that. Answer. Back in the Galactic Council, Ambassador Sullen was honored for being the one who chose peace when the stars were on fire. During her final speech before stepping down, she said, "When I first arrived on Earth, I saw them with fear. Now I see them with gratitude. They didn't come to burn our worlds. They came to stop us from burning our future." The chamber stood in silence. No applause, just respect. But even as peace settled across the stars, the Terrans remained watchful. On the far edge of the Orion Arm, a small probe drifted through empty space. It was quiet, peaceful. Until its sensors picked up something odd. Another signal. Unknown. Not from the Council. Not from Earth. New. Different. The probe recorded it, analyzed it. And sent one line back to Earth. Unknown origin. Message reads, "We are listening." The stars shifted once again. Earth's eyes turned outward, but this time they would be ready. This time they would listen first. This time they would not let fear speak louder than understanding. Because from that first misunderstood signal, Earth had learned the lesson that reshaped the galaxy. Peace isn't the absence of war. It's the strength to end it, even when you're powerful enough to win.